A pleasant evening to everyone. Hello to our viewers and participants. Welcome to the StackLeague AWS Tech Session App Development Trends today. I am Isai and I will be your host for tonight's event. Are you all excited to gain insightful ideas? Because we are about to learn the latest trends in app development in tonight's tech session. Of course, what's a tech event without the giveaways, right? Get a chance to win $20 worth of AWS credit voucher and a Stack League AWS shirt by simply going to this link. Once again, get a chance to win AWS credit voucher worth to $20 and a Stack League AWS shirt by going to this link bit.ly/ Stack League AWS credits giveaway. For the mechanics on how to join, okay? Submit an entry with your details and the session code, which will be flashed on the screen during the session, and submit it via the link that you can see on your screen. Again, it's bit.ly/ StackLeague AWS credits giveaways. Two winners will be picked to get a $20 AWS credit voucher and one winner for the AWS shirt. Winners will be announced at the closing program, and winners will receive the details on how to claim their prizes via email. So I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions regarding Stack League, you can type them in the comment section and we'll address them later at the Q&A session. Right. Are you all ready? Okay, so before we dive into tonight's session, we would like to give you an overview of Stack League. Casey Kalunod, our growth associate, will help me with that. Casey, take it away.
Okay, so thank you, Isai, for that one. And good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Casey. I will be giving a short introduction of Stack League, especially if this is still your first time hearing about the league. So, first and foremost, what is Stack League? So, Stack League is the Philippines' largest programming league, and our mission is to develop programming leaders that inspire a nation into coding. Now, the tournament is powered by StackTrick's fully automated talent analytics and assessment platform. Now, Stack League was launched last year, March 16, and we are now in our second competitive year. Of course, this wouldn't be possible without the support of our partners. We are very fortunate to be supported by the top companies in the industry. We have Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, Deltek, Coding Chiefs, and Apper.ph. The same goes for our community partners as well, who help us reach or help the league reach as many programmers in the country as possible. Now, on with the question, what benefits do you get in joining the league? So this pioneering programmer league is gathering over 9,000 tech talents across the country to test their coding skills with the promise of nationwide recognition, lots of prizes, more tech job opportunities, and invitation only events such as this one. And of course, this year, the league's year round cash prize pool is now at 5 million pesos, and this will continue to increase. So, this is still not the final amount. The final year round cash prize pool will be announced at the official launch on February 22. So, I hope you guys will look forward to that one. Now, one of the highlights of Stack League is the weekly stack race for both individual and team categories. Each week, the top 10 players and top 3 teams will be announced all across Stack League social media platforms. You can also view the full rankings of each category on the website. Apart from this, we also have the Stack League featured Stag League featured programmer campaign. So the weekly top 10 players will be featured on Stag League's website, and this will be shared on our different social media channels as well. And we are also very excited to announce that the Stag League Ambassador program is now open. To learn more about the program, here is a short clip for you to see. All right. So apologies for that one. So I think we had an interruption there on the internet, but so that is for the Stack League Ambassador Program. Now, Stack League, let's continue on this one. So, Stack League Ambassador Program is a year round initiative to reward participants who inspire and promote a nation into coding. And we are also very excited to announce that we already have the ambassador for January. Congratulations to Ira J. Taga for being the Stack League ambassador for January. She also won the 3,000 pesos cash prize and a Stack League t-shirt for being the ambassador of the month. So, if you are interested or if you want to be the next Stack League ambassador and win the cash prize and t-shirt as well, the program is now open for February. You can find the full mechanics at bit.ly/StackLeague Ambassador 2022. Now, for the competition itself, there are five supported programming languages in Stack League. We have JavaScript, Java, Python, C Sharp, and PHP. And for the ranking system, this is how it works. So after you sign up, you start at the bottom with 0 points, and all you need to do is solve as many challenges as you can and earn the corresponding points. So the more points you earn, the higher your ranking goes. And once you have accumulated enough points, you can now go to the next challenge levels where more opportunities are unlocked for you to access. So, how many challenger levels do we have? There are three Stack League challenger levels. We have bronze, silver, and gold. So, gold being the highest level. And what's new this year is that we now have prizes for you when you unlock a level. So for bronze, once you unlock bronze level, you will get 100 pesos. Once you unlock silver, another 100. And once you unlock gold, you get another 300 pesos. And in the first week of the official launch, players who unlock the three challenger levels, so that's in the first week after the official launch, you will get 1.5 times multiplier on top of your cash prizes. Next is we also have the Stack League Treasure Chest individual category, wherein the weekly top 10 players will receive 500 pesos cash prize. Of course, if there's the individual category, we also have the treasure chest for the team category. Now, each winning team will receive 1,500 cash prize, and also, the teams that are registered on or before February 22 are qualified for the multipliers as well. Now, both the Stack League Treasure Chest individuals and teams will officially open on February 22 and will end on March 26. Now, don't worry about the details for all of this because you can read the full mechanics of the Stack League Challenger Level Up, treasure chest individuals and teams at our website, stackleague.com/blogs. So you can find the full mechanics there. And that's it for the overview of Stack League. We are looking forward to seeing you make your mark in Stack League history. Thank you, and back to you, Isai.
All right. Thank you so much, Casey, for that very informative presentation. So I hope these people who are with us right now would be able to sign up for Stack League, no? So I've seen many comments right now. Hello, everyone. We have here from King's College, from UST Panaon, and some other colleges. So hello, everyone. Welcome to our tech session this evening. So I know you are all excited, and let us not delay any further. Our resource speaker for this tech session is a proud Cebuano technopreneur. He is an AWS community hero, mentor, and a co-leader of the AWS User Group Philippines since 2013. Currently, he is a technology officer, advisor, and special projects at educacion.ph. Everyone, let us give a warm welcome to Mr. Raphael Francis Quisumbing.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here, and thank you for having me. All right. So, yes, today I'll be discussing about some of the trends that I've seen in your application development. Right. So, uh, let me give a short introduction of myself. Hi, this is my background. I have roughly around 17 years of IT experience focusing on software development. My stack of choice is still open source, specifically Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. I've learned PHP when after college actually, and I learned it because it was free, and I could find sites that could host it for free as well. Right, so that's how I started in terms of the web development. Right. I'm actually currently a AWS community hero. So I volunteer, I teach AWS in various activities. And I'm actually also certified in that technology since 2013. Right? And for startups out there, I can also enable them to get training, AWS credits through the AWS Scouts program. Right? So these are my certification. As you can see, I'm also an instructor, and I have various levels of certification from entry level to very professional level. So I didn't get this all at once. Of course, I built up the knowledge over time as well. Right. So aside from that, on the side, I do some social media and hosting. I'm present in YouTube. I'm very active in Facebook as well. And so this is just one of the activities that I do here at I'm Raphael Quisumbing.
I'm Grace, representing the R Users Group of the Philippines.
I'm the CEO and founder of Filter.
Very excited to share AWS UG Build Hers Plus. I'm a volunteer and co-organizer.
very important that you have the knowledge of what's the culture that you really want to put in place.
For us, it's really about finding really great, world-class digital and e-commerce talent. The Philippines has been a very good place to be.
Technology is actually a great equalizer. The community's inspiration is that there's a safe space.
The fact that you joined, that's already a big step.
Having the platform of a very clear vision and values and a mission of the business and empowering people to make decisions.
This will not be the only episode that you will see. We will have a lot more. I'd also like to thank our co-presenter, AWS and AWS StackLeague. Right. So I'm very active in both in the IT industry as well as the community, right? And so again, I'd like to thank StackLeague for the invite for me to present what I've learned and what I've observed in our IT industry. Okay. So let's begin with IT industry trends. So over time, I've seen that generally we are gaining traction on some areas. Well, some areas I could consider mature already and we have wide adoption. So let's begin with what's mature or what's expected in any company, in any deployment, what is already a SOP, as standard practice. So first is, of course, the mature customer experience and digital channel. We already see this, that a lot of the companies are building or have their own application. They have their own mobile app. They have a delivery system. So basically, they're now extending their service, not just on their own physical location, like a branch, but they're going right into your home, into your mobile app. So they're taking attention where it is convenient for you. We also see that, again, in this customer experience, digital channel, we're no longer bound by time. If you look at banks before, right, you can only do banking up to 3 p.m., right? So imagine that if, let's say, you are a working professional and you need to do some banking transactions, I would remember that you'd have to take leave just to do banking, right? Hopefully, some of the services in the government, we also see this, that they're extending also their customer experience and digital channels so that you don't have to take leave just to transact with the government as well. Right? Next, we also see a mature grid computing. Right? So, for example, the cloud or network of CPUs, device farms. So, if you look at animation studios, right? Now, the processes that are being done, that's not actually done by just one computer, right? If you're building a animation film, right? If you've tried this building animation, just a short segment in your own computer, right? A 3D model, it actually takes quite some time and a lot of horsepower, CPU power just to execute that compilation into the video format. So there's actually a grid computing. We're doing this professionally. They have device farms, right, where it is passed to that device farm, and they are doing a lot of these parallel or node computation, node memory. So a single one computer is, it's a cluster of computer, right? So we are now going beyond just one kind of computer or just one brain in that sense, right? So there is that expansion of capability. Right? In terms of wide adoption, what's gaining traction? What is here, but at the same time, it's still early. You can look at data lakes and agile analytics. So you'll notice because storage right now is so cheap, okay, there's now an accumulation of data, right? Before, you would be, I remember this time, right? When I was still burning CD-ROMs, I don't even know if our attendants know what CD-ROMs are, right? But basically, you'd have to pick, what files you would like to store in those CD-ROMs, because again, they're finite. You would potentially be deleting files. Basically, you'd have to tag what is important and what is not important in your files. A USB stick back then, we would be happy if we already had a 30 MB, megabytes USB. But now your USBs are like 30 or maybe 60 gigabytes already. So such a leap. With that storage cheapness at present, now companies are able to store much more data, even store them for longer periods of time. And so this is where we can see that a lot of data can now be correlated. They don't have to think about presently, do I need this data or not? They can afford to store it, and then later, at a later point, extract information from it. Likewise, again, because of the advent of grid computing and with a very large data set, you can also have agile analytics. Basically, you are doing that mass computation on that mass data lake, okay, on close to real time. All right. Next, presently, we also see a lot of core systems transformation. A lot of the old tech, they're building it on in-house. They're what they call the crunchy, like a candy. It's a hard shell but gooey inside, right? They're now moving that into more robust systems where we're looking at microservices, we're looking at cloud, we're looking at containers. So their legacy applications from COBOL, maybe some even, Java, right? Some Java are now being broken up into these modern frameworks. And then in terms of gaining traction, right? So no longer are we bound by just statistics, summations. Again, we're now looking at machine learning and AI. Again, this is possible through your grid computing, through your data lakes. So all of these modeling has now become present. If you look at some universities in South Korea, machine learning and AI are now a subject on a university level. Right? We also see a lot of traction in the blockchain and distributed ledger, where ownership and responsibility of data is actually decentralized. Meaning you are part of a chain, and the transaction itself should be immutable. Okay, so there is no change to the transaction. You can reverse it, but that is a reversal entry, not a deletion. So if you replay everything, okay, so it's like your audit. Okay? If you replay everything, that is where you get the present data, but you never really modify the current data. This has spawned services and products like Bitcoin, SLP, NFTs, right? So this is now gaining traction, right? And lastly is quantum computing. So a lot of you may not have heard what quantum computing is. Presently, right, our chips, our computers are powered by ones and zeros. In fact, in college or high school, we had to compute for this, right? Convert it to binary 1 and 0, right? So that is how our chips interpret our memory, our storage, etc. Now, quantum computing allows that to be different because it can be 1 and 0 at the same state. Okay, so it's a little bit higher. There's a lot of science with quantum computing. But why am I saying it's gaining traction? Now, quantum computing as a service, okay, before this was only available to large labs, to large companies. But quantum computing is actually present already now. Okay, you can rent a quantum computing device at present. Okay? So you don't have to work for a large company. As long as you can afford to rent it, you can have access to a quantum computing machine. No. Again, we see that that's very similar to grid computing before or supercomputers before. Computers at a previous age, you need to have a football size field to gain access to computer. That became a personal computer, that became your cell phone, right? And so we can see that quantum computing, I would say right now, is in the early stages of becoming personal, right? So you definitely will see quantum computing, at least I think in our lifetime. So this is the IT in this industry trends. Now, some of you, okay, might know me and my advocacy, which is cloud computing. So where is cloud computing in all of these? So of course, cloud is everywhere in all of those stages, whether you are in mature, gaining traction, or in the wide adoption. Cloud is actually everywhere. It enables your IT, yourselves, to accelerate and innovate on these IT trends. So it's everywhere. It's being used in that historical context. It's everywhere actually. Okay, again, just a short definition. Cloud computing, it's the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet with pay-as-you-go. Right? I also try to summarize this as using everyone else's computer securely. Sa mga naglalaro ng maybe parang tong its dyan or pwede ba yun? Or card games, no? It's like the community deck, right? And people can use it as long as you are securely using it. No? Right. So again, in terms of cloud computing, you do have this level of the infrastructure that you can use, our service type, your infrastructure as service, your platform as a service, and software as a service. Again, what we see here in terms of trends, right? We're talking about trends. So previously, this was on-premise. A lot of the items or on-premise that has moved towards the cloud. That's why we see grid computing, because they have virtually unlimited compute. We also see things like AI, machine learning, because they can be using a platform as a service. Some models are already available for you as a developer to use immediately. And quantum computing, again, you can even use a quantum ledger book. If you're familiar with Jupyter Notebook, so there's also an equivalent quantum ledger, which you could potentially think of it like a software as a service, right? So it's really available to you right now, powered by the cloud. Right? So let's now look at cloud trends itself. So within the cloud, so we looked at the IT industry trend. Let's now look at cloud trends itself. So we cannot really avoid talking about the cloud when we're talking about trends, because it's now, I would say, in the wide adoption. It's present here. You probably have heard of the cloud at one point in the last 12 months, or even before that. I myself have since 2013, as I mentioned. Right. So let's understand what are the different cloud deployment models. So first, there's always a term called the private cloud. Okay, so this is the on-premise. Okay, and before it was just one server, you can actually run a private cloud, right? So virtualizations, VMs, you can do that on-premise, on a cloud. A use case for that is your company scale application. So within your company, you have an internal application, maybe things as your DTR, your HR system, your accounting system. That's really just, data and process is just within the company. So you can definitely use a on-premise or private cloud. For larger applications and for a lot of startups that have a global target audience, they're using the public cloud, okay, or cloud in what we hear in common, or just on cloud, right? Okay, that is actually considered the public cloud. When you say cloud, that's the public cloud. Okay. Again, here the use case here is internet scale applications. Right. So larger okay, larger than the company itself. No, the end users are actually outside the company. We're talking about, social media. We're talking about items like, that affects our daily lives or daily applications. This is actually on the public cloud. And lastly is what we call hybrid. Okay, hybrid is the joint of your on-premise or private cloud and the public cloud together. So for example, this could be for regulatory or compliance. Let's say your data must reside within, because of government laws, that they must reside within the premises, but external, functions can actually reside on the cloud. So this is hybrid. No? So again, just to understand the different cloud model concept. Now, question is, we're talking about trends. Where is the trend right now? Is the trend going from on-premise, going to cloud? Is it going to hybrid? Okay. So again, what I've observed that the trend right now is actually going to cloud or public cloud, right? And unless you have a government compliance, right? You are, maybe BSP, or you are at your company is at .gov, or .gov.ph, you probably would want to move into the public cloud itself. Okay. Now, that public cloud usage also has a trend I've noticed, no? And it's basically between a multi-cloud approach or a single cloud. Okay. So in a multi-cloud approach, okay, so the advantages are there's no vendor or service lock-in. Okay, so basically you are either operating in all of the cloud or a couple of the clouds, and then, or you're ready to move. Okay, you're ready to shut down a particular cloud and move it to another cloud immediately. Okay. What I've seen is those that adopt a multi-cloud strategy use Dockers. Okay, so for those that are not aware of Dockers, these are containers. Okay, so think of it like encapsulating the application so that it can run on whatever operating system, whatever hardware it's running on. Okay. Some of the disadvantage of a multi-cloud is called the least common denominator. Okay, least common denominator. We know that not all the cloud have the same level of experience or same breadth of services. So because you are gonna deploy it in a multi-cloud, you have to look at where, okay, what is available to all that you're running on. Okay, because if you use something that is beyond the denominator, okay, you won't be able to use that multi-cloud approach in one sense, right? So for example, again, if you take this into analogy where you have, let's say, an athlete, right? An athlete, a regular person, and then we also have then uh, a retired person. And if you were to do a sprint, right? So you'd have to get which of them is the slowest, right? Because you're gonna do a three-legged race. Three-legged race. Or sorry, in that case, it would be how many legs is that? No, it would be like a five-legged race. So the athlete cannot outperform the retired person because again, you are using the least common denominator. So that is a disadvantage if you're using multi-cloud. Another disadvantage also for using multi-cloud is bandwidth cost, right? We know that, again, if you're passing data from one cloud to another cloud, you potentially are incurring unnecessary cost versus a single cloud, right? So that is the trend in that particular category, the multi-cloud category. Maybe for larger companies, a multi-cloud strategy for them works. Maybe for compliance reasons as well, that they would use a multi-cloud approach. Now, let's look at another trend called the single cloud, or it's not even it's all in cloud, but in this sense, it's using just a single. Okay. Now, let's start with the no vendor service or lock-in. Obviously, if you're going with a single cloud, you'll have to have that vendor lock-in or dependence on the service. Okay, because you might be using a service that's only available on that particular cloud, right? So that is, you could look at that as a disadvantage. When you're also using a single cloud, again, you don't have to use these encapsulations or containerizations, okay, like using Docker. You can actually just deploy their managed service and their serverless application immediately. Okay, so these single cloud, they have specialized, no, specialized services or software as a service or integration service that you can use. Okay. And next, because you're using a single cloud, the integrations between these services, these microservices, are well made. They're made from one vendor. They have done a lot of tests and a lot of integration. So you can get that full integration and capability of a service. So again, the focus of a single cloud is specialty, and potentially perhaps lower cost. Okay. So what I do see personally is, lot of startups, when they startups themselves, no matter the size, whether it be unicorn size or just early stage, they go with a single cloud. While enterprises and perhaps telcos, I potentially see that they have to use, maybe for compliance, multi-cloud, right? So this is the cloud usage trend. Okay, so IT industry, cloud usage trend. Okay, so if you're going to use the cloud, we also actually have a guide on how you can move your application to the cloud using what we call the 6 Rs, whether you're rehosting them, replatforming, repurchasing, refactoring, retaining, or retiring your application. Okay, so again, we'll not go into this, but just know that there is a guide for you how you can use the cloud or migrate into the cloud itself in terms of strategy. Okay. Next, infrastructure trends. Okay, so now we're talking about the cloud, right? Inside the cloud, you're using infrastructure. Yes, it might be virtual, but there's also infrastructure inside. Okay, so let's see what are the infrastructure trends now. Okay, so infrastructure trends, before we can see a lot of monolithic applications. So monolithic, basically they reside potentially in one server, or at least the application level is just one layer. Okay, maybe you differentiate data based on another server, but again, the functions, the coordination is just done in one layer. Now, advantage of this is, of course, simpler to build and test. Okay, if one fails, everything fails. Okay, I'll move on to the far end. Okay, far end, which is microservices. Okay, so microservices are more like event-driven architecture. Okay, these are independent, specialized, and loosely coupled. So each service, okay, is small and independent from each other. When one service is down, okay, the rest of the service are not affected. Okay, they may have some, if they need to coordinate with that service that is down, they have some sort of buffering, they have some sort of retry, or they have like a try catch fail, right? They will have a method to go around that failed service. Okay, but eventually your process does not end just because a service failed. Now, what I've noticed personally is that actually many are trying to move to microservices, but end up being mini-lith. Okay, mini-lith. Okay, so as they move from monolithic, okay, because mini-lith is what I see as step towards microservice, they're actually stuck at mini applications. Okay, in attempt to decouple or to change the monolith to a microservice, okay, they're actually building a mini-lith. And what's the difference? In mini-lith, okay, the services are actually highly or tightly coupled, such in a case that yes, deployment is small, you have smaller repos, you have smaller code bases, but as you can see in this diagram, when one of the service, let's say the lowest service there, here, goes down, okay, there are actually things on top that will tumble down or will fail because one service is out. This is also quite common when they are using a shared data storage. Okay, so in microservice, actually each of these would have independent data storage. But in Minilith, we can see that potentially they're using the shared data storage. Maybe yes, they're all APIs, um, they're all containers, but they're actually just connecting to one big database. Okay, so this is actually a Minilith, not a microservice. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Assess, especially, are you really building a microservice or you're actually just using a Minilith? Okay, so that is the infrastructure trend. Okay. And again, in terms of infrastructure, there's also another framework called the Cloud Adoption Framework, okay, where you can help looking at the right people, the right processes, the right organization, the right security, etc. There's also a framework to help you, okay, picking and moving into that correct infrastructure trend as well, or the appropriate infrastructure trend for you. Okay. Now let's look at data trends. Okay, so we've talked about the compute part mostly. Let's look at the trends of data. So here, roughly, I think I can summarize it. It's between a data monolith, for your monolith, your minilith actually use a data monolith where data is centralized. Okay, you're using homogeneous technology, meaning just one type database. Okay, we see this common in SQL or relational databases, right? It's a big database, and so infrastructure scaling to support that database is also a headache. Indexing over time, that is it's basically made for a lot of these ACID and not base. Basically, transactional data where basically you have to have that all of the data in one location. Okay, that's data monolith. And again, it's just practiced well before, because I would say previously you were conscious of this space, you're conscious of data. Okay, but now because of your IT trends and the technology, you are now able to store things much easier, much cheaper. And so we can see that the move for data is actually towards data mesh. Okay, so domain-oriented data, each set of location or each set of bucket actually has specialized or specific set of data. They don't have to mix with other data sets. We can see that we're using heterogeneous technology. We can see NoSQL being used in parallel with SQL. Okay, we can see specialized databases such as graph databases, time series databases. Okay, so again, we can see that the question is no longer, will I use SQL or NoSQL? In data mesh, we're using all of these together. Okay, or all of these appropriately. Okay, we also see that in data mesh, we might do some ETL or extract, transform, and load. We're moving from one data source, data-oriented, into another data-oriented location. Again, ETL is important in data mesh. And we also see a trend in terms of data lakes, as mentioned, because data mesh needs that large pool of unstructured data, messy data that you can definitely just store and can be processed at a later point in time. Okay, and again, we have a model for you, for those that want to move to a data mesh, or improve their data collection, data trend, data storage. We have the data flywheel, where you start off again moving the data into the cloud so that you can leverage that virtually unlimited storage and capacity. Run it, build the apps or analyze it, and innovate, and then move, and so on and so forth, right? So you're continuously improving how you collect and use the data. Okay. Next would be user interaction trends. Okay, so we looked at again the IT industry. We looked at cloud trend, the infrastructure that's running on the cloud. We also look how data is stored. Now let's talk about the user interaction trend. Okay. Now in the user interaction trend, we can see that we are potentially at present looking at apps or applications and mobile. Okay. And what I see personally is that in the apps category, okay, there's a move to the web or browser. We now have less apps that needs to be installed. Okay. Basically what we see is that a lot of the software are now moving software as a service. You don't need a license key per se. You actually use the application over a browser, right? We also see this in, for example, even in the operating system. You can see emergence of things like your Chromebook, okay, where the application, the OS is actually a browser or a web interface, right? On the application side, we also see a lot of these PWA or SPA adoption. Okay, so a lot of the processes in the application are moved. Okay, move into the flat files. Okay, flat files move into the browser for execution. Okay, so your changes while you're navigating the site, okay, doesn't have to go back to the server to transform your interaction. Okay, and lastly, I would say gaining traction in WebAssembly. Okay, so if this is the first time you've heard of WebAssembly, okay, WebAssembly allows you to compile and wrap a lot of these older programming language into the web. So if you've heard of things like your Doom the shooting game, okay, on the web, they compiled, I think the source language of Doom was like C. So they compiled that into a WebAssembly or WASM so that it can be run on a browser. Okay. There's even a quote from the makers of Docker that if WebAssembly was adopted earlier, they might actually have not built Docker containers. Right. So again, look at WebAssembly also as a trend that you might be not aware of. Okay. Next, in the mobile infrastructure or no mobile trend, I see a lot of 5G infrastructure. Okay, or let me break this down to edge infrastructure. Okay, previously in your mobile, okay, a lot of the processing, processing is either on the app on the mobile device. That could be one. So consuming a lot of the CPU, the RAM of the mobile, or okay, it's actually consuming or requesting a service in a remote location, in a farther location, let's say Singapore or US. Okay, so there's a large latency because there's a larger request. So there's either constant request to a remote location that's quite far, or a lot of the requests are happening, or a lot of processes are happening inside the device itself. Now, in between that, okay, is the edge computing or the edge infrastructure. So in the edge computing, in the edge infrastructure, okay, we're now looking at potentially where the compute happens is at the cell site tower, right? We know that there's a lot of cell site towers that we have to build. Okay, so instead of going to a different region, to a different data center that's quite far from you, you can actually process that at the cell site location. Now, why is this important, or why is this a growing trend? Because we also see that some of our, especially here in the Philippines, that we are not all devices are equal, right? Some devices are not as powerful, and so the consistency of your application sometimes is hindered, okay, by the device. But if you're able to move that into the to a server outside, okay, outside, or a lot of the processing power is actually outside your mobile app than on a server that is much closer, okay, much closer to the user, like I said, like the cell sites, then that means you can benefit from both the large capacity compute, but at the same time closer to the user. We also see in terms of apps, in the mobile category, we're seeing mobile first. I see a lot of websites where their site action point, okay, is just download my app. You go to their website, you are not actually able to do any kind of actions inside their site. The site itself is just a landing page for you to download the application. Okay, so we see that a lot of companies are going mobile first. Again, their web page is just for you to find out what the mobile URL is, okay, or maybe some screenshots. No? So we're seeing that as a uh, user interaction trend as well. Likewise, we can see now a lot of wearables. No? Again, this is like WebAssembly. This is gaining traction. Wearables, devices, the Internet of Things. This is where we see a trend right now. Devices are getting cheaper. VR, AR is also getting cheaper. And as you know, Meta, right? Even larger companies are moving to that meta space, or so they say, right? So we can see that as a trend as well. Okay. Now, lastly, let's look at role trends. I think this is my last set of trends for you. Okay. So in terms of role trends, I see three categories. So there is the generalist, okay, generalist. So what I see is under the generalist, you have your cloud practitioners. Basically, those that are very knowledgeable on how to use the cloud and the wide breadth of services on the cloud. So these are now your newer IT support engineers. They basically know a lot and can help you troubleshoot your most common issues. In terms of the generalists also, I can see that because of the ton of data, there's actually now a request to do a lot of ETLs, good SQL, good SQL writing, okay, good SQL or data extraction. This is done by data engineers. Okay, so again, I consider them under the generalist category because they still need to know various technologies, grasping NoSQL, SQL, structured and unstructured using CSVs, TSVs, Parquet files, etc., etc. Okay, so they have a general knowledge of data structure. Okay. And then lastly is instructors and trainers. The pace of the cloud, the pace of technology is so large that we actually now need a lot of trainers and instructors. Okay, there's always a demand for newer technology, and so we need that generalist to help us gain knowledge into the field. No, so I actually see this happening where there's a lot of specialized schools. Specialized schools, like you'll notice, like, hey, there's a lot of boot camps that are being offered where 12 months, 12 months, and then you become a generalist, or boot camp for a particular language, etc., etc. So again, you can see the emergence of these instructors and trainers as well as a role. Now, for the more senior ones, those have been in the IT industry. Of course, one of the things that you have heard is what they call a full stack. Okay, full stack. So now you're expected to learn or be enabled in both front end, back end, and sometimes even mobile. Okay, you are able to do a lot of these things. You might not be specially skilled at one particular area, but you are enabled to do so. Okay, you're not. It's no longer a set of split responsibilities. Yes, maybe in the company, you can have a lead, no lead, but everyone should be a full stack. Now, I also see, if I look at job requests or job roles, I can see a lot of developers or a lot of demand is now serverless. Okay, so those that are familiar with using serverless technology, okay, why? It's because when you're dealing with serverless, you're dealing with mostly business solutions. Okay, you're not necessarily dealing with infrastructure anymore. And so the senior developer that has adopted serverless, their concentration is how to make the best solution, the best answer. They're no longer bound to making sure like, hey, this has to be 24/7. I need to do backups. I need to check my memory, do flashing of memory, right? Again, with serverless technology, it scales, and a lot of these heavy lifting is no longer part of your role, right? So a lot of demand for serverless. Okay. Likewise, we also see a lot of CI/CD presently. So continuous integration and continuous delivery or continuous deployment. Now, this is not new per se. All CI/CD means just you're able to collaborate well, and you're able to deliver items in a planned manner. Okay. Now, what CI/CD has done is either accelerate that pace of integration or collaboration and its deployment. Okay. By using automation and by using tools. Okay. But again, the concept of CI/CD is not new. Now, because of those new tools and new technology that pace, we can see that DevOps, okay, DevOps engineer, these are now looked at senior roles. Okay, you must understand how to be part of that fast train, because the company is now on that very fast CI/CD. Okay, you as a developer, you as an engineer, you must be able to ride that train at the same pace. Hindi ka mapag-iwanan. No? So that's why I also need DevOps skills to get on that CI/CD train. Right? And then for specialty, okay, I see a trend in QA automation. Previously, our automations might be, hey, let me check in my computer, let me click here, click there, click then. But we see, again, it's all about pace at the moment, and also repeatability of the test itself, right? So we can see QA is now moving to a lot of automations. They even have their own CI/CD practices inside as well for their automation scripts. So a specialty is QA automation. Likewise, I see continuous security as well as another specialization. Security engineers are no longer bound or no longer expected just to do pre-event, but also automated post-event. If there's an action, the system itself fixes or blocks the malicious actions. It has its own security growth, right? Security growth without having to bother the developer or the security engineer. So continuous security is now also a role trend that I see. And of course, in terms of data, to complement the data engineers or to process all that data and making insights out of it, we also see data scientists, machine learning scientists as a growing role trend. Now, for you, our audience, again, whether you plan to start off as a generalist or you're becoming a senior or you want to go into a specialty, these are the trends that I see. And, based on this, it's up to you what you want to pursue, which actually leads me to my next slide. Again, learning, you can learn by the skill, cloud skill. You want to be an architect, cloud practitioner, developer, DevOps engineer, machine learning, operations, or you can learn by solution, right? You want to focus on media services, you want to focus on security, you want to focus on storage, right? There's a lot of ways for you to learn as well. Now, okay, so again, what do I do with these trends? So let me just wrap up. Of course, initially, these are my suggestion for you. Set an objective, okay, and work backwards, right? So look at yourself. Hey, in 5 years' time, I want to be a machine learning scientist, or in 5 years from time, I want to be a security engineer that is specializing in continuous security, or 5 years from now, I want to be an IT trainer or a cloud trainer, right? So these are the things, and then of course work backwards. I like working backwards. You have a goal in mind, then you can goal and timeline in mind, and then work what you need to do that. Okay, if you're presently working or presently employed, look at do you need to realign your skills? Okay, maybe you're still working on a older technology, right? Maybe you're still using COBOL, maybe or maybe you're still using, I forgot that, Delphi or something like that, right? So double check, realign your skills. We know in IT, we have to be continuously learning, so that's why you also have to continue monitoring of trends, right? Attend talks like these so you can see what's popular, what's present, so that you can realign yourself. Plan for retirement, not necessarily not working, but retirement of the tech, right? Especially if, again, you're using old tech, you just can't abandon immediately. Of course, you have to transition, so you also need to plan for the retirement of that tech. So I'd like to just add one more thing. So since we're talking about reskilling or basically getting better, there is an upcoming AWS Cloud Practitioner Training Bootcamp. Okay, it's free. You can learn, certify, and practice, and even get employed at the very end. If there is there's usually a yearly job fair, right? So you can definitely check this out. You can register for the first batch before Feb 20, okay, 2022. You can look at the schedule. It is 2 Saturdays. So it's on March 5 and March 12. It's Saturday, half day. So you can go to go.education.ph/AWS Bootcamp. Okay, and again, that wraps up my talk. I'm sorry I took up a lot of time. I would be happy to hear some of your questions or anything or you'd like to share. Bootcamp is free. Okay, again, it's Saturday, half day. Bootcamp is free. And there's also an industry certification at the end.
All right, thank you so much, Rafi, for that very informative and insightful presentation. So truly, technology really is continuously growing, and even as professionals, there is still so much to learn and explore. So, with that, the floor is open for questions. So, for our viewers, if you have questions, just comment them down, and we'll try to answer them. Okay.
All right. So any questions, any feedback is also appreciated. If you don't want to chat, ask questions now, you can also just scan the QR code so that you can ask that question there or give feedback there at your own pace.
Can someone post it? I think some of them are interested with the boot camp.
Right. So again, I'll just quickly flash the bootcamp, and maybe somebody can copy the link It's go.educacion.ph/AWS Bootcamp. Okay. So I think let's look at for questions. Now I think one of the question is the code for giveaway. I don't have that. um,
Yeah,
Maybe
the
it was
code for
flashed.
giveaway was
Yeah,
flashed during the talk or the session. So, um, oh, here
just
we have one interesting question. So, there are a lot of concepts and trends discussed. So, as a student, which one should be a priority we need to be updated about?
right. So I think as a student, you should definitely take the generalist path, because you're young, you don't know yet what if you want to specialize or if you want to be a senior. Um, so as a student, I would recommend the cloud practitioner path. Again, the cloud practitioner is the wide where we're talking about like things like this, the trends, no, that you become aware of. So it's talking about the different tools that you could use. It's not the a specific tool. It's just um, the all the available tools that you can use. No? It's not telling you you should use this tool or you use this tool. It's just informing you of what the tools are there. Thank you for that question,
All
Cora.
right, there you have it. Okay, so how about the others? Do you have any other questions? Baka ano, nahihiya lang yung iba. So,
Yes.
if you're too shy to comment down your questions, I think you could scan the QR code on the screen right now. So, I think there's a question about the boot camp. How long po yung boot camp?
Right. So yung boot camp is half day. So that is uh, 4 hours, no? 4 hours. 2 Saturdays, 4 hours.
2 Saturdays. All right. So, okay. Are there still people who'd like to throw in their questions? Feel free to comment down.
Right. And so while I'm, there's, maybe questions coming in, I'd like to also again thank you all for listening into me, and as a token of my appreciation, no, um, for those that give a feedback in my QR code, no, I will raffle out personally. I will raffle out either, if you're the winner, I will either give you $10 Amazon, okay, Amazon gift card, so you can buy it for Amazon Music. You can shop, or an AWS user group jacket. Okay, so again, for those that give me your feedback, tell me if, again, using the QR code, tell me if I was um, too fast. Maybe I should do it in Taglish, etc. So if you give me that feedback here using this link, one or two of you, I will give the either in GC gift card or a jacket. Okay, so that's my thank you for your feedback. No? And I think we now have more questions.
Yeah, we have here one. So I am intrigued by your statement about WASM and Docker creator statement. Does it mean Docker is a fading technology already?
At present, I would say it's not. No, Docker is still in the wide adoption. So probably in the next 10 years, it won't really. It has already established itself as the primary container. Containers, by the way, have been there previously, with virtual machines. Docker isn't the only containerization available. But if you look now, Docker and containers are synonymous. So they've already gained the market share, right? So it's still early. It's not it's still there. It's gonna be present, but maybe in a decade's time, there will be a different way to deploy. Maybe serverless is now the the item to go. And I actually see that, For example, in AWS, there are now containers that run on serverless. To support serverless, Dockers now run serverless. So maybe that is a trend, like I said, over time.
All right. Sige. So I hope that answered your question, Danielle. This one, ito, does developer position has bright future? I think most of our students are excited or interested to know about this one.
Right? I would say two things now about this. Developers or engineers, the IT profession, we are one of the highest paid in 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 the Philippines, right? Actually, globally, we're one of the highest paid. Second, we're also, I believe there was a survey. I think we're now number 2 in terms of critical or job assurance. Number 1 are medical. It's very hard to remove doctors, etc. But we're now number 2. Basically, there is a dependence on developers or engineers. So companies cannot let go of developers and engineers, right? So job security is also there. And so the combination of just that both, highest paid and also job security, it is a bright future, I would say.
Indeed. So, all right. So this one also, maybe some of them are quite confused of the difference between engineers and developers.
Right. I think it's mostly a title. It's not really different. A lot of companies call them engineers. Some call it developers. It's not. I personally, no. I use them interchangeably. Right. Right. Maybe developers are more focused on the application, where engineers are more focused on the infrastructure previously. But again, we see the trend that like DevOps, it's developer operations engineer. Now it's multi-hat. So there's a blur line between engineers and developers.
Okay, there you have it. And our next question is, have you heard of Web3 and what are your thoughts on it as a developer?
Yes, of course. No, one of the things I would say, is Web3 gonna get there? Probably. No. For let's say CSS3, if you look at CSS2, how long it took for them to adopt. Okay, if you just look at it, how long it became a standard, quite long. No? So Web3 potentially could be there, or eventually there. But I would actually let you look at WASM again. Going back to WASM, the pace of adoption of WASM is quite fast. I think it has been adopted by the browsers. Kasi in web CSS, it has to be adopted by the browsers, no? A lot of the browsers. If you look at WASM, the pace of how it was adopted is quite fast. It didn't take them 5 years to be adopted by the browsers. So that this could be something I would focus more, if especially on that as a trend for web development.
Okay. For our next question, so what can you say about the becoming trend of augmented and virtual reality? Do you think it will cause a huge impact in the future? And if so, how huge will it be?
Right. Great, no? So if we look at trend, no, whether it's already it's already present, widely adopted, or gaining traction, I look at VR and AR as in the farther right, or gaining traction. Gaining traction. Why? Previously, I could see AR and VR more towards entertainment. It's something to be used at a short period. Eventually it entered into the education, so we can see trainings, simulations that are done on AR and augmented reality, right? But even before, when I was wearing a VR glasses, I could only stay maybe for 10 to 20 minutes, but over time I was able to use it for a longer period. Similarly, before, when I used to play Doom, No, I was so used to 2D games that 3D gaming, would be very difficult to interpret. You get nauseated. So I think VR definitely is also coming to us. It's still in the early stage. Will it be huge? Yes, it
Yes.
will be huge.
Exciting. So, I think our participants here are very much interested about the bootcamp. So maybe we could cater on this question: the prerequisite skills to join the bootcamp. I think there was also one question here if it's
Right.
open for those who have beginner friendly. The knowledge is somehow new.
Uh,
So yun. Any suggestion that you can tell to the beginner to learn before
yes.
joining the bootcamp?
So what's great about this boot camp, again, as an introductory, it's really beginner friendly. I think maybe a prerequisite I would suggest is at least what a computer is. You know how to navigate a browser. You know what a screen is. You know what a keyboard is, right? So aside from that, I think it's very if you use computer, a personal computer, it's very beginner friendly.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions, but siguro let's cater this last two. Here is from Gabriel. Any advice for college students who would want to get into app development?
All right. So when we say app development, are we talking about mobile apps? No. Uh, I think my suggestion, maybe I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot of suggestions already, like using common languages like Kotlin, Flutter. So siguro let me steer the conversation. Is number one, there's a lot of learning resources for you. Uh, what I want to say though is that if you look at the community, if you look at the mobile community here in the Philippines, that's a good way for you to assess how active they are, how large their community is. That tells you, okay, that tells you the industry trend as well. Okay, so because that community is large, that's active, they also have a lot of resources that they can share. So my suggestion for anyone or college that wants to join or get started in app development is actually to join a app development community. Just pick one, or again, you can attend all, but I would suggest picking one first for getting started with app development.
Okay, so for our last question from Paolo, I have heard that GitHub has introduced a feature called Copilot, which basically does the coding for you. Have you heard of it? If so, what's your take on this? Could this be dangerous for developers?
Right, right, right. So I've heard of Copilot, but I haven't dug deep, no. But let me look at generally AI, machine learning, and in AWS we have what we call Code Guru, right? So it's basically AI going lower level into developers. No? This is a common theme actually, even before, where is there a fear that AI will take over human jobs, right? AI taking over human jobs. Now, um, what I see is that at least in the near future, no, not very far, um, is that we should accept that a lot of jobs get automated or get AI. No, what does that leave us? We should actually elevate ourselves, no? Elevate ourselves to the next level, right? So maybe yes, these the AIs will build the basic level, the specialized level, but they will never really totally replace the developers. Okay, um, so we'll just go into higher level. Maybe we don't have to build common SQL queries anymore. We don't have to build certain functions, etc. There's always a job for us at a higher level. Just to add to this, not to this concept, if you look at, let's say, if you look at, yes, AI is now able to beat you at Dota. They have made these AI models playing Dota. But if you get that model, get that model, plug it into League of Legends, okay, you will beat that model because that model has only been built for Dota, right? So these models, this AI, are specialized to one particular thing. So us as humans, we are still one step beyond because we can adapt. We can go beyond our initial training.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Rafi. So, to all our participants, as much as we'd like to entertain all of your questions, but our time is limited here. So if you'd like to reach out to our speaker, I think they could just scan the QR code flashed on your screen. And also, yeah, it's also an opportunity for you to win um, Rafi's giveaway. So wag nyo nang palampasin yon. And there, I think that's the ending of our session. So before we end, can we ask Rafi to do some your last words to our participants?
Right. So everyone, no, take this opportunity to challenge yourself. Join Stack League, look at technology, continuously improve yourself, attend trainings and webinars. One of the things that I missed, growing up, is that these, meetups, these kinds of seminars were not widely available to me, right? And now you have this. Basically, all the tools are your fingertips. So definitely use them. Don't waste them. And again, thank you so much. Feel free to contact me. I'm quite active in social media, the user group as well.
Okay, thank you so much once again, Rafi, for your time tonight in our tech session. So yeah, I totally agree on that. Grab every opportunity you can, no? Especially right now that there are many available webinars such as this, and actually by joining Stack League, you would open a lot of opportunities for you. So for our participants and viewers right now, please register and secure your slot for the Stack League competition. All right. So I hope we see you there. Okay. So before we end, uh, we would like to announce a few. Okay. So for our upcoming, so since it was mentioned, I would encourage you to join events such as this. So these are our events lined up. First is we have the Stack League Angular PH, RxJS, and Observables in a nutshell on February 16. Okay. And by the way, please don't leave yet because we will be announcing the Stack League AWS giveaway winners in a while. So once again, we'd like to invite you to our next tech session in partnership with Angular PH. It's RxJS and Observables in a nutshell. So it's an introduction to RxJS. So it's on Feb 16, same time, Wednesday 6 p.m. So to secure your slots, you just visit bit.ly/stackleague Angular PH session RxJS. And of course, for our next event, we'd like to invite our viewers located in Northern Mindanao. Get ready to take on the Syntactics Challenge on February 18, 6 p.m. and get a chance to win as much as 5,000 pesos in cash. So limited slots, so make sure to secure your slots now. And on February 22, 6 p.m., we'll have our Stack League 2022 official launch. So that will happen on February 22. So you still have time to register and secure your slot. So again, this is a good opportunity for you to learn and open many doors. All right. Okay, so again, on February 22, we'll have our Stack League official launch. And we have the Stack League 2022 cash prize pool. So the lucky winner would get, the three winners actually would get 500 pesos, and we will be announcing it on on the official launch. And as mentioned a while ago, we are currently at 5 million. Our cash prize pool is currently at 5 million, but this is still increasing. So make sure to guess the final amount. And during our official launch, we will be giving away 500 pesos for five lucky winners. So there. So, just by joining the official launch, you get to win 500 pesos. Okay, make sure to register via bit.ly/StackLeague 2022 official launch. Again, bit.ly/StackLeague 2022 official launch. For those information, you may visit our official website and Facebook page. And Stack League Ambassador for February is still accepting entries. Earn your ambassador points now. All right, so get the chance to be our ambassador of the month and the ambassador of the year. Okay? Make sure to register before the official launch to get the multipliers for the Stack League Challenger level up. So if you register earlier for the Stack League tournament, you would get multipliers for the Stack League Challenger level up. All right. So, are you all ready to know the winners for the AWS $20 credits? Okay. So, I hope first winner is Precious Jane Dazon. Congratulations. And our second winner, drum rolls please. And for our second winner, we have J Mar Katapang. Congratulations to Precious and J Mar. And for our t-shirt winner, we have, do we still have Precious and J Mar with us right now? Paramdam naman kayo if you're still here. Okay. Congratulations. You will be receiving your $20 worth of AWS credit voucher. And for our Stack League AWS t-shirt winner, we have Isabel Dominique Mendoza. Congratulations to all of our winners. All right, so once again, we invite you to register and secure your slot at Stack League. Okay. So once again, thank you so much everyone for joining the Stack League AWS Tech Session App Development Trends today, and I hope to see you on our next tech session. So again, if you have no account for Stack League yet, make sure to sign up now at stackleague.com, and of course, invite your friends and family who you think should be part of the league. See you guys at the next Stack League event, and have a good night. Bye!